is what you're made of. You are perfect and pure, even if you're not sure. It's what you're made of. L-O-V-E, love.
I said, it's all God to me. What do you mean by God? That's the title of today's talk. If you're on a spiritual path, if you're involved with religion on any level, or if you're just a human being on earth, it's really important, it's of the utmost importance to know in your heart and mind what you mean when you say God. It doesn't matter the other people's definitions. They won't be the same because everyone has their own individual experience. Your experience is not exactly the same as mine. But what God means to you is going to shape your thoughts. It's going to shape your beliefs. It's going to shape your emotions. It's going to shape your actions in the world. You don't have to believe in God in a spiritual, traditional sense to have a deep spiritual experience. And you'll ultimately only believe in your experience. The concepts are not going to really matter at all. The word God has come to represent so many things to so many people. But at Unity, we still believe that God is love and only love. And I remember one time, I used to live in the Midwest, and I had a gym that I went to regularly, and there was somebody wearing a t-shirt that said, God hates us. Right? And it twisted my brain around. It twisted my brain into a pretzel. Because I said, haven't you read 1 John chapter... I had to say it. The guy was huge, too. I mean, I could have been placing myself in grave danger. But I had to say it. I said, haven't you read 1 John chapter 4? It says God is love, unequivocally. Several times in a row. It keeps saying it over and over again because somehow I need to repeat it to get it in my mind. God is love, and I have to add, only love. It's important because we want to add, our brains, immediately try to add stuff to that. And that means this, and that means that, and this is love, and that. No, God is love and only love. No matter if you view God as an omnipotent being or divine energy or in unity principle, pure consciousness, universal mind. These are all new thought terms for God. The vibration of eternal love. There's only one question you have to ask yourself. Is my view of God open for change and expansion? Am I growing and evolving? Am I willing to allow my concepts of God to evolve, to open up, to include more experience, to include your experience as well as mine? And that's a really important factor because quite often we want to say, my view of God is right and your view of God is not. And, I didn't say it to the guy who said God hates us. I just asked him, have you read 1 John chapter 4? That's all I wanted to say to him. Didn't want to get into an argument with that guy.
What did he say?
He walked away. But I'm sure he went home and read 1 John chapter 4 because he did have a reaction to it. And I'm not there to wait around for what your reaction is. I'm just speaking from my experience. And you're going to take that and have your own experience. And that's what's important, is that it keeps expanding and growing and moving. That I don't stick to one particular response that I want. One result that I'm looking for. And that's very important to me. Because quite often we'll take New Thought theology and say that's the right theology. And that's kind of antithetical to what we actually teach, because New Thought theology is based on an open theology. It's a living, we call it a living theology. It's not something that's set in stone. It's not dogma, it's not doctrine. Our creeds are personal, our personal experience of what God is. And that varies depending on your experience, how long you've been around and what you've experienced in this life and what you've studied. When I was in ministerial school at Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute, where I was finally ordained several years ago, I wrote a long paper, I think it was about 36 pages, about the name of God, how it's changed. And one of them is what Bruce mentions. The unspoken name is the breath. The in-breath, Yah, the out-breath, way, Yahweh. It's quiet, it's personal. It can't be spoken. It can't be held in a concept. It's the Spirit breathing through you. It's not something that I can put into concepts and words that the human mind can understand. But the human being can experience it. We experience it as the very breath breathing through us. And it's very hard to put into human concepts, like in a finite definition. It's very important for me that experience continue to evolve and to continue to grow. Ellen Davenport, who wrote The 5 Principles, she said this: if I had one wish for the world, it would be that every adult re-examine his or her view of God at least once per decade. Around here, you might do it every week. But at least once every 10 years would be good. Just examine your view of God, what it means to you. Is it still the mango in the mango tree? And much more than that? Right? And then it gets deeper and deeper. Ellen also says God may not change, the universal mind, the eternal spirit may not change, but people do. And we outgrow our old concepts. The ideas about God that we had at 6 will not serve when we're 16, and certainly not when we are 60. For example, my parents may have taught me when I was 6 years old that there's a God up in the sky that loves me. There's this omnipotent being that showers love upon us. And I go, that is awesome. I like that. And that became a belief. And this is my personal experience. That did become a belief of mine. But when I got older, at 16, I had another experience of God. Meditating on the beach, I found out that God was in everything I see. Oh, this was a huge turning point in my spiritual life, in my awakening. It's in the ocean. It's in the trees. It's in the food I eat. It's in the water I drink. It's in the air I breathe. It is everything. It's all of this. Wow. It's all God to me. That's why that song is so powerful. It's all God. It's all around me. And then in another few years, perhaps you'll have the experience that God is within you as well. It's not just out there. It's, whoa, my goodness, it's what I am. So being within me and all around me, it becomes something very cool. It's all-encompassing. I may review some old religious texts that in which I'll discover that God is love itself. Not just a God who loves me, but the energy, the principle of love itself. Not just a being, when I was 6 years old, that loves me, but that it is love, and that I am that as well. The Bible says God is spirit. They that worship God must do so in spirit and in truth. So that's actually saying I am spirit. I'm not this body. I'm much more than this body. I am spirit. And if I want to find out what God is, if I want to have a true experience of what spirit is, I'm going to have to accept the fact that spirit created me as spirit. Now, I might have created a body and came into this incarnation for certain learning purposes. That's fine. But my essence is spiritual. I am spirit. Now I'm worshiping or identifying with that which created me. Now, these verses are assiduously avoided and denied so that we can continue in the charade that we are separate, in the charade that we are limited, that we are bodies, or that there is death. When I use the word worship, I use it in the metaphysical sense. I'm using, a lot of the time, I just use these two books, The Revealing Word and The Five Principles. These are kind of just basic unity texts. And I use them a lot. But if I just go back to some ancient spiritual truths, God is spirit, just meditate on that a little bit. And so am I. I am spirit. So when I'm using the word worship, what that indicates metaphysically is an identification with, or incorporating into my being. Worship means incorporate God, or whatever you think spirit is, into your being. That's what we are. It's to become as. To become that which you are worshiping. It's not to praise the Lord, although I still kind of like that because it's fun. I used to do that at one time too. I still go around and thank you, Jesus. Just because it's fun. So I'm not taking that. I'm not taking anything away from anyone. All I'm asking is that question that Ellen Davenport asked. Is your concept of God evolving? Is it growing? Is it expanding? Is it open? Are you reviewing it at least every 10 years? What do I really get into it? What do I actually believe? And ask yourself, does it make sense? Does it make sense to you? It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. Does this make sense? My view of God. So if I have a view of God that God hates me, it doesn't make sense. Because it does not align with my experience of God being love. It doesn't align with what I've experienced, all the miracles I've experienced in my life, all the healing miracles, all the miracles of abundance and prosperity, the miracles in my relationship, the healing of my mind, my heart, my emotions, the growth of my being, the expansion of my mind and my understanding of spirit. So think about what you believe the eternal to be. And you don't have to wait every 10 years. You can do it every 10 minutes if you want. But review in your mind those big questions. What is God? Who am I? Why am I here? All these are like fundamental questions that will shape how you are in the world. So if you want to have a God for grown-ups, as Ellen Davenport calls it, you're going to have to finally come to the necessity of incorporating into your being these spiritual powers of the universe, identifying with your God. It can't just be something out there. So when I'm needing something, I pray to the Santa Claus God. Or the great, somebody used to call it, the great waitress in the sky, always bringing you your order. I can't just depend on a God out there saving humanity, stopping climate change, bringing people back together. I have to do that. I have to actively demonstrate the qualities of love that I believe God to be. I have to incorporate it into my being and identify with it. Lily and I were watching a show the other night. It was Jane Goodall's Famous Last Words. And she's a wonderful lady. She's so simple in her experience. It's profound. And I love the definition that she gave when asked in her final interview if she believed in God. She said, "I believe in a greater spiritual power." She said, "From my perspective, I absolutely believe in a greater spiritual power, far greater than I, from which I have derived strength in moments of sadness or fear. That's what I believe." And it was very, very strong in the forest. So not really part of a religion or a spiritual path, just communing with nature, communicating with nature and with animals. That was her whole life. Listening, communicating. She learned the language of the chimpanzee. How do you like that? I'm having trouble with Spanish, never mind chimpanzee. Most of us can't speak English properly. Right, Kathy Strudwick from England? Yeah, she has a hard time with you guys. England and the U.S. are two countries divided by a common language. We don't speak the same language. Imagine trying to speak chimpanzee. Man, that is amazing to me. So many people have come to their spiritual awakening in nature. I had that experience growing up, having the blessing of growing up here on the Cape, being able to go down to the ocean, to walk down to the ocean and meditate all by myself and just learn what this universe was all about, all by myself. It was the most profound experience for me. There's an intrinsic experience of connection when we immerse ourselves in nature. And that's why, here at Unity on Cape Cod, we're a certified earth care ministry, because we feel that communing with nature, communicating with nature is a very spiritual act. So many people have come to a spiritual awakening in nature, whether it be the forest or the beach or climbing the mountain or planting your garden. For me, I experienced the littleness of the ego. Like how small this separate self really is in relationship to the whole universe. This vast, immense universe. And simultaneously, I experience my spiritual nature, my oneness with that universe. The expansion of my consciousness. It's like Paul said to Jesus when he first met him. He says, "I must decrease so that you can increase." So it's very symbolic. Metaphysically, it means my ego must decrease so that the Christ in me can increase and come out. Oh, it was John, it wasn't Paul. I'm sorry, John the Baptist. Because he was the prophet saying the Christ is coming, the Christ is coming. And this is what the ego must do. It has to finally come into service of the Christ in you. Because the Christ doesn't need any verification. It knows what it is. You know who you are. You're just being the light. You don't have to announce, "I am the Christ." If you start doing that, then you're not. I love it. I've got a meme that I really love. It's that guy, the most interesting man in the world. And he says, "I'm not always enlightened, but when I think I am, I'm not." It's just like that. When you think you are, when you're judging, you're awakened, you're maybe perhaps better than others, or maybe perhaps you have the right answer or the right religion. You don't, and you're not. It's the ego that must decrease in order for the Christ in you to increase. Comes as a thief in the night. The Christ in you comes quietly. It's a still small voice within you. So this is where I am right now. Is I'm experiencing this immense connection to the whole universe. And I'm experiencing at the same time the disconnection of most human beings. Like your choice to be disconnected from all that is and to give importance to your ego. It's really, to me, it's increasing the illusion of separation in this world. And I truly believe that the healing of the separation, the healing of your mind, is going to be the healing of humanity. But you can do it, like all on your own. Become more and more aware of your connection to it all, your connection to every living thing in the universe. And as our prayer says in the beginning, in harmony with all that is. You don't really have to work that hard at being in harmony. You just have to make a choice to let go of certain things that are blocking your awareness. Let go of certain habits of mind and habits of emotions and habits of relating to your fellow human beings and the planet. That's why I love Jane Goodall. She made it her life's work to communicate with animals and with nature, because you can't tell a chimpanzee what it is. It's always going to be a chimpanzee. You have to discover what it is. She said, nature is so fascinating. There's always something more to observe and to learn. And if we can only take that childlike curiosity into our lives, each and every day. I want to learn about what's going on here. I want to learn about you. Observing, listening, and attempting communication. Just allowing you to be a part of me. I want to discover the God in you. The only way I'm going to discover the God in me is to find the God in you. To allow it into my mind, in my heart. To welcome you into my heart and into my mind. Then I'll discover it within myself. Ellen Davenport said one last thing about God, concerning God. She said, our human minds cannot conceive of all that is. However, I propose, and I know from my own experience, we can have an experience of all that is. We may not be able to define it, and that's good. Because as soon as you define it, it's defined. As soon as you say, I'm enlightened, you're not. This is what God is. Well, sorry, it's more. It's more, and it's more, and it's always more. I can't put it in a box. I can't hold it in a limited concept, because by definition, spirit is unlimited. But I can have an experience of it, and that's what we call the mystical experience. And that's what I'm hoping that we can foster here at Unity. Is that mystical experience. Bring back the tradition of the mystical. Bring back the tradition of the curious child wanting to know what God is. Bring back that tradition. Bring back the tradition of wanting to join with you in an experience that we haven't had yet. Open my heart and my mind to something mystical happening. This is where I allow my idea of God to be both transcendent, like beyond my understanding, transcendent of the physical human experience or limitations, and yet immanent, transcendent and immanent. This is another concept that Ellen Davenport offers us. It's not only beyond the physical and the human understanding, it's also present with me. Immanent means it's within. It's here, it's now, and it's within me. It's at the very core of my being. It's closer than my own heartbeat. God, Spirit, everlasting life, eternal love, divine ideas, presence of the One. It's closer than my own heartbeat. It's the one thing that will never leave me and can never die. And the final step as human beings in this process is to keep that open. Keep it flowing. Is to let it continually evolve in your consciousness, your idea of God. Let it continually evolve. And most importantly, as it evolves, share it with the world, but in vibration and experience, not in attempting to explain in concepts, but in a relationship. Learn the language of the mystical. Learn the language of frequency and vibration and of love. And do that. Be that. You can do it. I see you doing it. You're even writing songs about it. I love you guys. You're awesome. Thank you so much.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at unityOnCapeCod.org. This video was made possible in part through a grant from Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Templeton Foundation.